Question number 9, the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Trade. What monetary and other assistance was provided by the New Zealand Government in support of his bid for appointment as Director-General of the World Trade Organisation?
Honourable Tim Grosser.
Well, as the Prime Minister announced to your colleague in the House just the other day, exactly the same type of assistance as we provided to other candidates in the past, including, most recently, Helen Clark.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Does the Minister know whether the GCSB hacked or monitored emails of his rivals, either itself directly or through other agencies?
Insofar as it's ministerial responsibility, the Honourable Tim Grosser.
Well, making the point that, of course, this question should be directed to the Minister responsible for the Government Communications Security Bureau, I can quite happily answer the question in any event.
I have a point of order from the Honourable.
My question wasn't who directed it or whether it was appropriate to direct it. I asked him whether he knew whether...
Order. Well, I think the member's very lucky the question's actually been allowed to stay. And I invited the member to answer it in regards to his own ministerial responsibility. Of course, is not the minister responsible for the GCSB, but I haven't ruled the question. Order. I haven't ruled the question out. I'd like to hear the answer from the minister. Honourable Tim Grosser.
Mr Speaker, as this House knows, while we accept that there is a foreign intelligence gathering agency which does the surprising thing of gathering foreign intelligence, we do not comment on specific operations.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
I have 2 points of order. The first is to clarify, is the Minister claiming that there's a public interest in not answering the question?
Well, the way to do that is a further supplementary question.
Well,
I invite the member
no, point of order, Mr Speaker.
Which is the point? What point of order is the member?
Well, I don't know whether the question's being addressed. You know, he's either declining to answer the question.
The way forward is to ask exactly the supplementary question that the member's now asking as a point of order. It's not my job to answer on behalf of the Minister, it's the member's job to ask questions. Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, the Minister is being asked, did he have personal knowledge? Now that, sir, is not a question that he can evade. The answer's got to be, yes, I did or I didn't. No. But he cannot dodge around on the basis that some other minister should tell this House whether he personally, as Minister, had personal knowledge. No, it's a clean question. Make him answer it.
Order. But in my opinion, the Minister did answer it. He addressed the question. The way forward now... Order! The way forward is to ask additional supplementary questions, and I will grant the member an additional supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Honourable David Parker.
Is he claiming a public interest in not answering the question as to whether or not he knew that the GSB hacked or monitored emails of his rivals?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Tim Grosser.
My answer is fully consistent with long-standing policy, not only of this government, but of the government of which he was a member and of which I was an official advisor, and to answer it any other way would break long-standing government policy.
Stop. Point of order.
I still don't know whether the Minister is claiming a public interest in not answering, and that was my question.
And I invite the member to ask a supplementary question. I accept the point the member's making. I could interpret the answer, but that's not my job. It's the member's job, so I'll grant him another question.
Is the Minister claiming a public interest in not answering the question as to whether he knew whether the GCSB hacked or monitored emails of his rivals?
Honourable Tim Grosser.
Let me put it another way to the member. We accept that the member has not yet had, he may have in the future, any political responsibility for an externally facing portfolio. But he has the great advantage of having members in his caucus who have. So I suggest he ask them discreetly what the answer to the further questions might be.
Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
How does he reconcile the Prime Minister's statement that South Korea, quote, wouldn't give a monkeys about spying on his South Korean rival, with the Brazilian government having subsequently called on the New Zealand authorities to explain this same outrage?
Point of order, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, we all appreciate that as questions move along, the focus of that question may change, but it cannot move so far from this Minister's responsibility to stand as a question that can be directed to this Minister.
I'm going to allow the question to order. I'm going to allow the question to stand. It simply starts, how does he reconcile those two statements? The Minister then has the ability to answer it, and he doesn't consider it's within his ministerial responsibility. That's the answer a Minister can give, and I'd find that that has addressed the question. The Honourable Tim Grosser. Point of order, the Honourable.
With due respect to your ruling, sir, there are set ministerial responsibilities. The question asked by Mr Parker does not go to the ministerial responsibility of the Minister of Trade. Whether or not he can reconcile the Prime Minister's statements with those of foreign leaders is not something in his purview, and he should not stand.
Yeah, and I could have ruled that way, but I've decided not to. In light of the very first question that was asked, the first supplementary, again, moved it away from a trade issue. I invited the Minister to answer. I pointed out, I used the words, in as far as it relates to ministerial responsibility. In the answer then given, I think the Minister has now allowed a further breadth to the question that's been asked. The question's been asked. It's not a difficult one for the Minister to answer, and I'd like him to do so.
Well, I can reconcile, Mr Speaker. I can reconcile the question very easily. We have had discussions with the Brazilian government at ambassadorial level. We're ready to clarify our operations with any friendly government that seeks our attention, and that offer remains open. It was not taken up by the Korean government.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
Why did his government let the GCSB put our trade and diplomatic relationship with Indonesia at risk by spying on his Indonesian rival for the WTO job, given Australia's recent hacking of communications of the Indonesian government caused such a public deterioration of their relationship?
Order. On this occasion, it is a question now that relates entirely to the operation of the GCSB. If the member can rephrase his question and link it to a ministerial responsibility, I'll allow it. Honourable David Parker.
Why did the government put our trade and diplomatic relationship with Indonesia at risk by spying on his Indonesian rival for the WTO job, given Australia's hacking of communications of the Indonesian government caused such a public deterioration of their relationship?
The Honourable Tim Grosser.
Well, Mr Speaker, as the trade negotiator who came in from the cold, I would answer that I've not done any spying on anyone, and we are in a very interesting situation right now with Indonesia. If the member continues in this, he can ask 1,000 supplementaries and he will get the same response phrased in different ways, which is this government, as his previous government, does not comment on operational matters.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
Does he think spying on our friends to help his job application at the WTO was proper use of GCSB powers?
Insofar as the Minister considers ministerial responsibility, the Honourable Tim Grosser.
Mr Speaker, the same answer as I've given to previous occasions.
Question number...
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to, and I've obtained this, including the translation of the Portuguese.
You're seeking leave to table something?
I'm seeking leave to table the release from the Brazilian government, which is in Portuguese, and the Google translation that's been provided by the... Which has been provided by the public library.
I don't need any further assistance from the member or any further description. If it may inform the House, it'll be the House's decision. Leave is sought to table this particular document. Is there any objection? Yes, you've got to move. Question number 10, Barbara Kuriger.
Mr.